Greetings. So one of the many great things about living in Hungary is that you're allowed to make booze. And I don't mean wine and beer and cider, but you can make actual hard liquor, spirits. And as long as you don't sell it, no one cares really. So obviously I had to have a dabble. I've been trying for the last couple of years, but with a bit of a British twist. And last year I successfully made Rhubarb Palinka, which, believe it or not, was absolutely amazing. So you join me this morning with the Rhubarb Palinka production line in full steam. So not an awful lot to it really. So initially you just make it like wine, and I've had a traditional rhubarb recipe wine for years. It's just a question of chopping it into small pieces and getting it all over the floor, boiling it all up until it goes all mushy to get all that lovely rhubarby smell out, and then putting it through a sieve, through a filter, to get all the lumps out. Let it cool, put some pectin enzyme in, because it can get a bit stringy, rhubarb, especially if you boil it. Stick a bit of sugar in, a bit of yeast, boom, you're ready to go. The thing when you make palinka is that you make it a lot more fruit heavy than you do wine. When I made this originally, I made it like rhubarb wine and distilled it, and it didn't really get a lot of the rhubarb flavour. But if you like double or triple the amount of fruit you put in, it distills over beautifully the rhubarby smell. So yeah, I'm going to make, I've got enough, probably got enough rhubarb to make about 20 litres of rhubarb wine, and I've got 20 litres that I made a few weeks ago. And at the place where I'm growing my rhubarb, I've got 4 huge plants growing in somebody's garden, and there's probably enough there at the minute for a harvest of another 40 litres perhaps, so that'll perhaps be nice for Christmas. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, so just chop it up, stick it in, no finesse really. Lovely, got that lovely sort of rhubarbiness already. It's pretty awesome. This is it's amazing. A lot of people in Hungary, they've not seen rhubarb before, and they're really curious about what it is. So yeah, it's another sort of British import that I brought to the country. I can just imagine my rhubarb escaping the garden one day, and in 100 years' time the country will be covered with it, and it'll be all my fault. So sorry about that. But anyway, I'm going to chop this and then get it all boiling. Oops, I missed. Just starting to boil now, getting a little bit sort of mushy, squishy. Not ready yet though. So yeah, I'm preparing the next part. So this is the 20 litre drum that I'll ferment it in, and this is the bucket I'm going to use shortly to sieve all the big lumps out. Your biggest enemy when you make any sort of homemade booze is contamination. Basically, you're making a huge petri dish with all that sugar and fruit juice, and any bacteria or fungi you've got in there is going to go absolutely mental, and it's going to ruin whatever you've got. So they're both sterilised with just pure sodium hypochlorite. Don't ever use like Domestos or stuff like that, because it's got something in it called Bitrex, and it's a really bitter chemical. And I think they put it in to stop, blind people accidentally drinking bad stuff, or to stop people killing themselves perhaps. And if you use a cleaner with Bitrex in it, you'll be tasting it in your wine for years and years and years. I did it with 50 litres of beer once, so it's one of those harsh lessons that you learn once. So yeah, there we are. Please hurry up and boil. So while we're waiting for that to boil, I thought I could show you these. This is one I made earlier. You wanted to say that for ages. Anyway, yeah, so this is rhubarb. I made about a month ago. It's basically rhubarb wine now at about, 15-16% alcohol. It's dead, the yeast's finished. And these two, that's orange. It's dead easy. It's just basically 20 litres of orange from Tesco in the cartons. Make sure it's 100% orange though, not the cheap shit. About 3 kilos of sugar, bit of yeast, and just leave it for about 4 weeks. Again, you end up with orange wine at 15-16%, and then you just distill it down to this amazing orange spirit that tastes absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I think I invented it actually. I've never tasted it before, and it's absolutely amazing. The girls absolutely love it. Yeah, the reason they're only half full is because the yeast goes absolutely monster mad for the orange. And the first time I made this, I had an orange fountain and an orange tsunami. So I'll leave it a few days until it sort of died down a bit and a bit less enthusiastic, and then I'll probably top it up. So yeah, very busy. Anyway, back to the kitchen. Lovely. The whole flat is filled with lovely rhubarbiness. Ooh, lovely. Okay, I'll let that boil for another few minutes. Turn it off, let it cool, and then we'll stick it through the sieve. Ooh, okay, right. Just time to sieve it out a bit, really, filter it. So yeah, I've got my sterilised bucket with a sterilised cloth on the top. Just pouring it in and getting all the big bits out. And it's great stuff to chuck in the composter when you're finished as well, so good. I'm making a mess. I'm in big trouble, I think. Okay, it's tomorrow morning, and here it is. So, 20 litres of filtered rhubarb juice. It's nice and cool now. It's still quite warm. And this is the magic stuff that I thoroughly recommend you to add to any sort of fruit wine you make. Yeah, pectin is that weird gloopy stuff. It's stuff that makes jam, and there's two reasons you don't want it in your wine, really. The first reason is that when it starts to ferment, all the pectin, all the bubbles from the fermentation, it turns them into the most amazing foam. So yeah, without the pectin enzyme, the first 2 or 3 days there'll just be foam everywhere. The second reason is when it's finished, it makes it really sort of thick and cloudy. And again, if you put the enzyme in, it just eats all that, so it's not a problem. So yeah, it's nice and cool. So I'll stick the enzyme in a minute. I'll give it probably another 24 hours to munch away on all the pectin. Then I'll stick the sugar in. Then bang some yeast in and leave it for 3 or 4 weeks until it's finished. And I'll end up with another 20 litres of strong rhubarb wine. And I also bought some orange juice. That's all they had in the shop. But I'll stick that in for now, and that's for the other orange stuff to try and top it up a bit. And that's it. And now it's just a question of patience and time, really. So the part 2, the next instalment would be when I distill it, when the real magic begins. When we make some proper booze. So yeah, tune in next time. Onwards and upwards.